All right, everyone. Welcome once again. It is Friday, and wow, am I excited for today because we've got a little holiday this weekend.
Are you wearing your green, Damon? Do you have green on?
I've got a bit of green on.
I've got green. I'm about yeah.
And
I think it's something on Sunday, right? St. Patty's Day.
Yeah.
Little St. Patrick's Day this weekend,
Yes.
Damon.
Yep. And for those of us that are Irish 365 days a year, I always keep my Irish mist close.
Is that your aftershave?
Yeah, kind of like that.
Nice.
It exudes from you after a while.
I can tell.
But hey, we're here for the Manufacturing E-Commerce Success Show. I'm one of your hosts, co-host Damon Pistolka. That pretty guy right over there is Kurt Anderson. We're going to, be talking about the best resources and strategies for going global today. Kurt Anderson,
dude,
I want to let you take it away, but we cannot forget what Mr. Bigger has put in the comments this morning already. Wow. Because, and I don't mean to not start with the fanfare because we've got an awesome guest today. We're going to be talking about a thing, but we are 3 days away from National Kurt Anderson Day. On Monday, March 18th, you will see posts, you will see video, you will see things that you may not want to see, and won't be able to unsee, but it is going to be the day of Kurt on March 18th. For all the others out there,
I don't know what's happening. It's like
so. With that being said, Dan's got many surprises for us, and we're gonna have good with that. But we got to get on here with Trish Stuart. So take it away, Kurt. We got to talk about this.
All right, Damon. A few things here before we dive in. All right, first off, happy Friday, happy St. Patrick's Day weekend, and you didn't tell me that Trish Stuart was going to be here. I didn't know that dude, I would have done my hair today for, if I would have known Trish was going to be here. So, all right, Trish Stuart's in the house. Trish, happy Friday. How are you?
Oh, happy Friday. I feel so speaking of Irish, I feel very lucky to be on the show with you.
Man, yes. That was a nice Damon, that might have been the nicest opening we've ever had. She feels lucky. Did that just hit you, Trish? That was a good one.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. How did we meet? Was it through Noah?
It was through Noah. What? I was going to bring that up. You and I met through Noah, our dear friend. God, I haven't talked to Noah in ages. From Above the Fray, Damon, you know our buddy Noah, great dude. He's in Portland, Oregon. So yeah, we were connected. And you are a repeat offender. You've been on the show multiple times, and the second time we were together in person at the Industrial Marketing Summit in Austin, Texas, about a month and a half ago. What a privilege to meet you in person. What a great event. So, Trish, let's start here. The last time, Damon, it was so long ago that she was on the show. We were on Remo. We were on the Remo platform.
Ooh.
So that goes way, way back.
That's in the Wayback Machine.
That's in the Wayback Machine. So, Trish, let's go here. Your superpower is helping manufacturers figure out this whole global thing. You're a translation superstar guru. We're going to dive right into that. The last time you were on the show, not in Austin, Texas, a month and a half ago, but several years ago, you were on. We had a great, wonderful conversation. I did not ask you this question, though.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Here we go.
You ready, Trish? Are you sitting down? Are you ready for this one?
Sitting down. I'm ready.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Everybody out there, drop us a note. Let us know that you're out there. Let us know where you're coming from. We're here with Trish Stuart today. Trish, when you were a little girl growing up, you and your 4 siblings, 5 of you, I believe, in the family, right? 5 kids. When you were a little girl growing up, who was your hero? Who was your hero as a little girl growing up?
Wow. Number one, Kurt, thanks for letting me know you were going to ask me this question so I could be prepared. Really appreciate that. I thought you were going to ask me what song I won if I was a baseball player. But boy, I as we just said, I'm in the Wayback Machine. So probably Linda Carter with Wonder Woman, either that, Lindsay Wagner, Bionic Woman, one of those two probably. Well, and Charlie's Angels, all those guys. I go in the Wayback Machine. I've been around.
Dude, yeah. Linda Carter from Wonder Woman dropped Wagner. Bionic. You're not, Trish, you are absolutely not old enough. I know Damon and I watched those when we were kids in the 70s. You are definitely not old enough to watch those shows. You cut the reruns. Charlie's Angels. Are you kidding me? Man, we're just or what? Huh?
I even had the bubblegum cards. I even had the Charlie's Angels bubblegum cards and the lunchbox. So,
Hey,
yeah.
Wow. You
Dan
don't know
Bigger.
how many times you said Linda Carter. I was like, Wonder Woman. I mean, we used to sing that when I was a kid because you were going to go ham on somebody about that time. You know, you got to get that Wonder Woman out and get after it.
God, Dan Bigger's not old enough to remember those shows, but he says he does remember those shows. Dan, you're not old enough to know those. So, all right. So, great kickoff. One, Lindsay Wagner, Bionic Woman. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Damon, that was like I dropped the mic right there.
Yep.
All right, Trish, you survived the first question. Are you ready for next? Are you ready for the second question?
Yes. So I don't know. I'm ready. I'm ready. Whatever you throw at me. That's what I'm here for. I solve problems. I'm ready.
You better hang on to that desk, right? Okay. So VP of Solutions of Client Solutions. Love that title, by the way. Did you come up with that title?
You know, I did. I did come up with that title.
I love that title.
Everything that I do. Yeah.
Okay, so you survived the 70s and you're watching Wonder Woman, Bionic Woman, and Charlie's Angels, and you go off to college and you decide your superpowers, speaking of your superpowers, helping folks with, how did you get in this whole translation situation? How did this come on your radar? How did you decide to bring your talent, your skills into this space?
Wow, Kurt. I don't know if we have time for this whole thing. I really wasn't prepared for this. I thought we were going to go to my slide, but sure. So I started off in education. I was a teacher for many years. And I mean, if we're going to go there, we'll go there all the way. So let's go all the way. So the year was, I believe it was 99, whenever Columbine happened. And I was teaching in Colorado at the time and wasn't having such a great year. And I decided education wasn't for me anymore. And so I was teaching middle school at the time. And so I started stuffing envelopes for a translation company until I figured out life. And before you knew it, I was managing projects and basically kind of running the show. Not all the way running the show, but you know, I knew enough to be dangerous.
Yeah. So started off as a teacher. What were you teaching?
Language arts, middle school language arts.
Middle school language arts. And I did notice on your, so guys, connect with Trish on LinkedIn. Yes. I noticed right on your LinkedIn profile that you were an educator, and I did not know that about you prior to.
Very cool.
So big pivot. That was a big leap of faith, was it not?
It was a very big leap of faith. And so that's why I feel like whenever I have friends who are making a big transition into a different industry, I definitely feel their pain, because it's an unknown, but here I am, how many years later, and it can be a great thing. So,
you know, that's one thing that it really hit me a few weeks ago. I was thinking about this, and that transition you made, it was almost like becoming an accidental entrepreneur. But do you feel that transition is something that actually is better for you now that you're in it?
Well, you know, teaching is a vocation. And so I think that people who are teachers are just phenomenal, you know, they're phenomenal individuals to commit to that career path. You know, Damon, I completely just forgot your question. What was your question?
Well, do you think that this is, you know, we think about as we
pass your bottle, Damon. Pass your bottle.
Yeah. But as we get on in our career a little bit, right? You were made, this is a pretty significant career transition. Do you feel that this is a better fit for you than being a teacher?
Well, I think that we all have skills that you can use in any industry, honestly. And I think that we pigeonhole ourselves and we say, oh, well, this is all I went to school to do. And so this is all that I can do. And so that's why whenever I was in translation, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to stuff envelopes. But the thing is that people need to be educated in no matter what field you're in. Not that I'm the master educator, but I can share what I know to help people make better decisions and to help guide them with the knowledge that I have. And so I don't just have to be in a classroom with students, you know, who are hopefully shorter than I am, but I can use those skills anywhere. And I think that that's what I try to help people realize whenever I chat with them, is that you can use your skills anywhere. Even like you said, Damon, to be your own entrepreneur and to do whatever you like to do.
It's interesting talking to people that have made major career changes like that, because very rarely do they regret them. And it's a big leap, like you said. I can appreciate that with people. So awesome.
Yeah. And
Great.
Trish, I'd still deem you as an educator, right? Don't
Yeah.
like with your job, with your position, you're educating, right?
That's how I feel. And, I go off on my translation memory tangent all the time about things. So I feel like there are things that people need to know in order to be educated consumers. And that's a passion of mine, is to share the information that I have.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Well, I love it. On your LinkedIn, you have, I transform translation dilemmas into successful solutions. I absolutely love that. So here's my next question. I think you'll be prepared for this one. How do you and your team make the world a better place? So I know you have a little slide. We're going to do a deep dive, but for the folks that aren't familiar with you, how do you?
There's all kinds of questions I wasn't quite prepared to answer. How our team makes the world a better place, that's the question, right? I feel okay, very good. Well, I think how our team makes the world a better place is honestly, well, this is something else interesting to know about me, is that the company that I've been with for the past, I think, 11 years now, they used to be our translation provider. I worked for a different translation company, and our industry is very interesting in that we all kind of work together on projects. And so what I really think that our team excels at, why I used our company whenever I was with another company, was because they really look out for the customer. And that's why deadlines, we don't charge rush charges. We don't charge for client review comments. We look out for people. And that's something important to our company, is to act truly like a partner and to really care about people.
Well, I care about people. Drop the mic on that one, Trish. I love that. Speaking about caring about people, that's a wonderful scarf that you have on. Do you want to share where did that come from?
Great, you're baiting me. You want me to say what I said before the show, don't you?
No, not at all. No, we're on live, and so we're gonna.
No, my husband purchased this scarf in Ireland. He used to work for Guinness, and so he brought me the scarf. And I was just joking with Kurt before the show, much like you see, my family member went somewhere and all they brought me was this T-shirt. I joked that, my husband went to Ireland and I got a scarf, which I'm very appreciative.
It's very fitting, very appropriate for St. Patrick's weekend. Hey, Whitney Houston's in the house.
Yeah, Whitney's here today. Hey, Whitney. Happy Friday from Houston. Man, the weather's got.
Hello.
Yeah, Timothy's here today. Great to see you, Timothy.
Happy Friday, man. He's coming to us from Amsterdam, Trish. So happy Friday to you, Timothy. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for stopping by.
Absolutely love it. So, all right, guys, we're here talking about how to help companies, entrepreneurs, manufacturers go global. Trish, do we want to? Are we ready for the slide? Do we want to go to the slide?
Sure, absolutely.
Let's go there. So, all right. So we're gonna. This is gonna be a master class for folks on super simple steps. Trish has been on the show before. We got together. We were actually in person together about a month and a half ago at the Industrial Marketing Summit. Trish is a longtime dear friend, global expert, and we're gonna dive in. Trish, what are we looking at here?
Well, Kurt, I wanted to organize the things that I thought were important to touch on in regards to going global. You all had a lot of really great lead up to the show, and I wanted to make sure that I touched on all the things that I felt were important for people to know. And some of them are rather basic, and some of them are a little more in depth. So if anyone ever wants to go deeper on any of these topics, I'd love to, as you mentioned, connect on LinkedIn and go deeper on any of these topics.
Nice. All right.
Great.
Take it away. And one of your taglines I love, I think I saw on your website, we translate words into business.
Yes.
I think
Nice.
that is just such a fantastic
Yeah.
line. And I'll tell you, as you and I became friends, and you've been on the show before, and just what you've educated me on, there's a lot of assumptions that as entrepreneurs and manufacturers, we just think it's really simple or easy to go
Yeah.
global. Why don't you let's walk us through any points that you want to make here. And again, this is masterclass time. Help us how to figure out how to take our businesses global.
Absolutely. So, first of all, there are a lot of different considerations, and I'd be happy to share this slide also. If you DM me on LinkedIn, I'd be happy to share this with you. But I think, first of all, whenever you think about going global, the first thing that you need to do is stop and look at where you are. I think many people start looking outside of their organization for answers. And oftentimes, if you look at where you are, you can find a lot of the foundational pieces that you need to have in order before you start to go global. And there are many of the same things that you do whenever you get your source content, your English content ready, is you want to think about your customer and you want to think about where are they. And let's say, for example, Kurt and Damon, you made elevator parts and you received documentation that talked about a lift, or it had a spelling with OU instead of OR. You would think, well, they must be based in the UK. They're not really a company, that's here, and they're not speaking directly to me. So English, you may think English is English, but whenever you speak to your client in the messaging that they're used to seeing in their culture and in their environment, it really makes a big difference, and it is much more impactful. So, just making sure that your company says, what target language do we want to focus on? Because I've had clients that have come up and said, oh, I want Mexican Spanish. And then in the same week, someone else from the company says they want European Spanish, but they're both going to the same end user. So it's not a consistent brand message. It can cause confusion. It may lead to liability or safety issues. And so I think the first step is just to make sure that you get your arms around where you are, subject matter experts that you might have that you could call in as reviewers, and validators, such as your distributors or your salespeople. So I would say that that's the first step. And then the next step would be and feel free to jump in anytime.
Yeah.
I can probably geek out on this all day long.
You know what, Trish, let's hit a couple of things that are so important, because like even here in the States, you could talk to somebody in different parts of the country, and there's I might call it tissues and Damon calls it Kleenex, or we call it, somebody calls it soda, somebody else calls it pop, so there's a lot of different, so just even here in the States, of different regions, different parts of the country, it is so important, let alone going to other countries. I don't mean to jump the gun, and I apologize if I do, but you educated me. I naively thought, well, before meeting you, why wouldn't a manufacturer just throw up Google Translate, right? And you really dispelled how important that is. Can we hit on that for a minute?
Sure, absolutely. So it's very tempting for everyone to want to just go online and use all the tools that are there that are really amazing. We have Chat GPT now, we have, Google Translate, we have all these things, which are really wonderful tools for certain uses. And with Google Translate, you just need to, or Chat GPT or whatever, online open area that you might have, you need to think about that security and the information that you're putting out there. I like to call it feeding the baby, right? You're putting your information out there where it's not in a protected environment.
Right.
And so you want to think about your intellectual property. You want to think about content that you may have out there, but you also have to think about the content that you're grabbing. Is there bias with it? Is there, where are you obtaining this? Is it a subject matter expert in the same industry? And so in our industry, in the translation industry, we've been using machine translation for quite a long time now, neural machine translation, especially because you can train, you can train and have great results, but it needs to be in a secure, protected environment, and it needs to know boundaries, let's just say.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something that was brought up, wasn't it, Kurt, at the Industrial Marketing Summit about, I think they mentioned, someone suggested, Chat GPT with Teams,
Right.
in order to not have it training on your content. And I'm really looking forward to, the AEM has an upcoming seminar where my friend Erin Murray is going to be sharing about how to develop your own custom large language model. So there's a lot of information out there, but I guess just be careful in knowing that how you're using that content. You want to look at how reliable is where you're sourcing that content, and how secure is the environment that you're placing, perhaps your brand or your IP.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Well, and two, I mean, the other thing is, if you're trying to translate into a language you don't know with a system that you can't trust 100% the output, or someone that can review the output, I mean, because you could tell somebody you're trying to sell them something and think you're really explaining, you're telling them that you want to sell them this street sweeper something or other, and you're talking about ducks. You might not know.
Right.
Yeah, you really don't know. So that the quality of your translation and ensuring that you're really getting the message across. I mean, the last times that we talked, and since in talking with you, I mean, it's not just translating. It's translating so the message gets across. And that's what I've learned talking with you, is it's so much more than just saying this word equals that word. It's how do you combine the words together so it means what it needs to mean.
Correct. Right.
Which I had no clue, right? I got no clue about it. And that's awesome, because, and that's what you really, I think is a part, and makes it really valuable and so important, because going global, I mean, you don't get a second chance if you screw things up a lot of times.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. With the going to your point, Damon, about the validation part of things, many people just assume using an LSP, language service provider, or language service partner, that it would be too expensive. And I think that you also need to think about that there's more than one way. Like, for example, our company can provide the all human process, but we can also, use machine translation with a subject matter expert edit. We, of course, usually don't recommend that route unless you've built a rather large translation memory that has trained, the parameters that you want to use for your company. But something that I did want to mention is, if you do contract with an LSP, to find out what process they're using. Are they using an all human process, or are they using a machine translation with a post-human edit? And so that you can ensure that you're using an industry qualified resource, because that's the other thing is, I listed here under the LSP area, to make sure that they have some kind of quality assurance process. And we're all very familiar with, the ISO certifications. And so the 17100 is a certification for translation companies that tells you that the translators assigned to the task were subject matter experts with the right background and the education for that industry. And that's the all human process. But the 18587 tells you that it's a machine translation with a post-human edit, again, ensuring that correct protocols were used with that environment, as well as with the post-edit by that person, by that human translator, that they had the right education and background and qualifications in order to properly edit the content. So it's just being an educated consumer as to there's more than, I mean, there's so many different ways that we can go about translating things these days, but it's just knowing, thinking about your end user and the experience that you want them to have, the liability that your company may have, the brand message that you're trying to protect. And sometimes whenever you put things out, I don't know if you've experienced this, but AI can get rather creative. I mean, just with images, it's really amazing that you can put in things for images and it can draw and create all kinds of things. But, it's also creative with your words too. And so you need to think about that whenever, they might be, the output might be something kind of made up. So it's really important to work with someone that you trust to ensure that you're getting the right output for your client or for your end user.
That could be a disaster. Like, I mean, just think about what you just said, Trish, right? Something that was made up, right? Like you're trying, and Damon, hey, we've got some friends here in the chat box. I love Dan. You got to pull up Dan's comment there about hey, Diane Byers here. Happy Friday, my dear. I just spoke with Diane yesterday. Diane, sending you lots of love. And did you see the comment with Dan? But so yeah, so if you're doing business with somebody in Pittsburgh, right? They're going by yins, where again that language, that lingo, that local slang can be such a predominant factor as you're trying to communicate, right?
Well, I mean, it's especially a big consideration with marketing materials. You definitely want to ensure that you're not just blindly trusting, a bot to do that. You definitely want to ensure that you are being culturally appropriate and that you're not offending or causing some kind of huge embarrassment that might happen for your company. So even though it's translated, it may not be translated correctly.
Right.
So yeah. And then, go ahead.
Well, and the funny thing, I mean, this is a perfect example, I think, because yins might be something that happens in Pittsburgh or that area of the country, but in the Southeast where Dan lives now, it's yuans. It's different.
It's y'all.
Y'all or y'all, and this is, I tell you, when I moved from South Dakota to Tennessee, I had a hard time with some of the language, just figuring out what it was. And, we all speak English, but we don't speak the same English. And so it's just in that little bit of experience I had, how hard does it mean if I'm trying to sell stuff in wherever, even Mexico and in even Canada, French
Canadian.
French Canada, French. It's just like, oh my goodness. And like you're saying, Trish, know who is doing your translation, because if you're just letting somebody else do it, it might not be right. It might not even be close.
Well, what we actually recommend is to remove those kind of colloquial regionalisms from your content before you translate it, unless it is something marketing based where you want to really be in that that niche. But it is important to consider who is doing your work and what their biases may be whenever they're producing the content. And that's why we are tasked whenever we translate something, our boundaries that we work within is that we have to stay true to the source. We can't add things. We can't take things out. We have to stay true to the source. And so that's whenever the reviewers come in. This is a funny story, not really funny, but a funny story that I have is one client who was really upset that they sent things to their reviewer for their Arabic content because they couldn't, read the Arabic or check it. And whenever the content came back, they realized a lot of the content was missing. And so they said, well, what happened? And the reviewer just decided, well, I don't want this in there. I don't want that in there. I don't think that this is okay, without really educating the person why. They just did it. So always be careful with your reviewers, especially if they have the source files, that they do have the ability to change things. And so you may want to send it back to your language service provider whenever you get those review comments to say, hey, what are your thoughts about these changes? And many times, and that's why we encourage people, we don't charge for the review comments. We will implement those and give you feedback, because we want you to know what's happening to your content.
Right.
Things can happen without your awareness, and because you don't speak the language. And it's important to know what has been changed by your reviewers. And then we can also update your translation memory as well. So then going forward, all future translations will have those review preferences in the content.
Yeah, I love it. Hey, we got to grab a few comments.
So Inger's in here today.
Hey, Inger, happy Friday.
How you doing, Inger? We got Diane comes by with another one. Is it a hoagie or a sub?
That's a great one, right?
Yeah. Yep. So we got and she says, great to hear about Terralingua.
Oh, right. Thank you.
Inger's in here today.
Hey, let's grab Timothy's got a nice comment here earlier.
Let's see. This is amazing. Thank you, Trish.
Oh,
and then grab Whitney's right underneath that. So I love this. They call them hallucinations when AI makes things up.
Thank you, Whitney. I have not had all of my coffee yet, so words are sometimes escaping me. So I appreciate that.
Damon, Whitney, Houston, and Trish and I were all together down in Austin at the Industrial Marketing Summit together. So, and Dan has a nice, funny comment here if you want to grab that one.
Which one? The last one?
Right. Let's see.
Which one are we talking about? He's got a lot. Yeah. I thought we made up everything.
Yes. Yeah. But speaking about the Industrial Marketing Summit, Kurt, that's another important thing. It's just to tap into people who are keeping current with trends or with what's going on in your industry, whether it be in an organization or events such as that, or even with your shows, with, just tapping into and being involved with, I know everyone is so busy, but to be involved in an organization like we're very active in the AAM or going to the Industrial Marketing Summit. I mean, I received this little handout at the Industrial Marketing Summit from Global Spec and True Marketing. And, it was really interesting to see about technical buyers, where they get their information and what is useful for them to do their jobs. And so it's really helpful to be plugged in somewhere to stay on top of resources and ways that others in your job position are handling the same challenges that you are. And then there's all the free resources out there that the government provides, like with, Pam, I don't know, whenever I was on before, I don't know if you all remember Pam Plagans.
I sure do. Yeah.
U.S. Service.
Yep.
Yeah, if you haven't been to trade.gov, that's an amazing site that has lots of resources, as well as they have international trade specialists local to you. The MEP, Kurt, right? You very involved in that. There are even grants out there that you can get to have your content or your website translated. And the DEC, the District Expert Council. So there are a lot of different resources available to you that don't cost a thing and are up to date on regulations and on what you need to do. And I think that people need to tap into those as well.
Yeah, this is awesome, Trish. So a couple of things I want to touch on. So if you're just joining us, happy Friday. So I see Harry's here today, Damon. So happy Friday, Harry. Welcome to everybody. Again, if you're just joining us, drop us a note in the chat. We've got Trish Stuart here today, global expert. And so we're doing a deep dive into how to help take your business and, a big thing, how to take your business global. Let me finish my sentence. But what I love, Trish, is you're talking, we hear that phrase a lot. What's been ringing my ears today is, meet that client where they're at. And I feel, and I know it's very cliche and it's very probably used a lot, but I feel that's exactly what you're talking about. So free resources, I would just want to unpack. We just did a great global webinar at the New York MEP a week ago, 2 weeks, when was it? 2 weeks ago, and just great resources. So your MEP, Manufacturing Extension Partnership, if whatever state you're in, boy, just Google Manufacturing Extension Partnership and connect. They can help you. Another great resource are the SBDCs, Small Business Development Centers. There's nearly 1,000 throughout the United States. They're all parked at universities. Their services are completely free. There's a lot of export expertise that can help you there. Trish, I want to go back. One thing that I love that you talked about, and I had it in my notes to bring up, I want to go back to your LSP. You have LSP, either your provider or partner. You guys are ISO certified. I mean, that is street cred. That is total, like, that's
definitely
legit, right? So again, this isn't like, hey, I got my nephew's uncle's cousin who knew how to speak, this language. Like, this is quality, you're bringing a quality level of expertise. Can you just hit on that one more time in case anybody missed it, or just take it one step further? Why is it so important to have that ISO certification under your belt there?
Well, first of all, they're relatively new certifications. We've had the 9001 for a long time. Previous to that, there was just Localization Industry Standards Association called LISA, and our workflow is based on their standards. But the importance of that is that the company is audited by an independent auditor that will come in and look at a project and see were the right resources assigned to this. They'll look at their CV, their background, their credentials, and make sure that the right people are working on your content. And like with the LISA standards, which tie in a lot with the other requirements, you can't have errors inside of the translate. There's a lot of I could go into it for hours, but it's a very detailed step-by-step process to ensure that your translation is accurate, completed by the right people, using the right quality process, with the right tools. And as we talked about with the translation memory on our last visit together, that is an asset that so many people don't know about and that they leave behind with every project just because they are aware of the importance of controlling that asset because they don't have the tool. And because they don't have the CAT tool to manage that database, they leave it behind because they don't even know about it. So I don't know if I can geek out on translation memory for a little bit, Kurt, but I feel like that's something important for people to know.
Well, I think we should. I think we should, because you brought this up before, and you just flew right over the top of my head before that. And when you did, it was so important. I want to say real quickly, Alexander. Hey, Alexander,
happy Friday, man. And and now Dan Bigger has a very important question.
Yeah,
here. We do need Trish, the expert. Trish, what do you need to do if you not only want to go global, but you want to go intergalactic?
You need that bottle that Damon has. You get out that bottle and you can,
all right.
You go intergalactic.
Maybe
quantum leaps.
Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Catch that movie. They have all the answers for you, Dan Bigger. So Trish, let's
talk about
it going.
Oh, well, I think I've often joked many times. I feel like I'm the blues brother on a mission from God, because oftentimes that's what I harp on so many times with people. And even whenever you repeat it over and over again, people still don't understand the importance of it. But basically, a translation memory is a database. It's a little suitcase of sorts that aligns your source content and your target content, organized in a way that if a language professional has that suitcase, they can unpack it and reuse and repurpose the content that you've already paid for. And that ensures consistency with your user's experience, because things aren't different manual to manual or file to file. It allows them to work faster, and it gives you cost savings, because what lives in that suitcase, the language service provider, even if they weren't the original people to do the translation, they will give you a discount on whatever lives in that suitcase. So if you have that suitcase and you have it with one provider, and as you know, with companies, sometimes things change. Maybe you're not getting the same service that you're used to, or turnarounds aren't as fast as they used to be. You can pick up that suitcase and take it somewhere else. And, you could even shop it around. So honestly, whenever people say we need to get at least 3 quotes, well, you're really not getting 3 different quotes, because unless they have a level playing field of everyone unpacking that suitcase and saying, well, what have they already translated? How can we leverage their previous investment Otherwise, your existing provider may seem to always have the lowest price, but they may not. They just might have the greatest advantage by having the translation memory asset in their control. You want it in your control. So then that way you can give it to someone else. You can say, hey, quote this manual for me, or quote this for me with this memory, and let me know, the best price you can give. And it also, so all that work that your reviewers go through of giving their feedback and their preferences, and you think, oh, I don't want to change companies because then my reviewers are going to be irritated that they have to train somebody all over again. Well, they really won't, because their preferences should live in the memory if your partner updated it. So if your partner updated the memory with those review comments and feedback, which is something that we do, make sure that your partner does well, then those comments, all they have to do is do it once. They don't have to keep continually providing that feedback.
Boy, what a huge competitive advantage right here,
Yeah.
And think about this for a second. So Damon, I have a client, this client, and they have a significant project job that they do for a part that comes from another country overseas, won't say what, and their job is to repair it. So their full task is just repairing parts that are being imported incorrectly, miscommunication, loss in translation. And so they're like, hey, this is great. We love the job, but we're correcting something that was done, in another country. And so, now let's think about that small manufacturer. You have 10 employees, 20 employees, and you have a really unique little niche. You have this, you are the master of like this part. And maybe there's a country out there that needs that part, and you're crushing it. And what Trish is describing, if there's other companies, other consumers, other folks that need that part, you do it one time for that one company. Now, like, you've opened up the door to now you can start knocking on the door to other companies that need that part, that, if you're an OEM or what have you. So Trish, I couldn't love what you just described. What a huge competitive advantage by aligning with a team like yourself, and to take yourself intergalactic, global, whatever you want to do.
Yeah. And then real quick, I want to say, hey, John Belglino's here today.
Hey,
glad to see you
let's
today.
do that again. John, how about John? Sending you some love, brother. I got
love
the colors right there for you, dude.
Yeah. But this is, I just want to go back to this again, this translation memory. When you brought this up before, I just stopped me in my tracks, because it is so important, if you're going to have the translation done, to get that memory, including the updates after a reviewer, because it is so valuable. Because if I've got this, say I've done a website or a technical document, I've translated that, then you go into the next document and you want to translate it. You want that to be the consistency there that you wouldn't get if you did it two different ways or didn't keep it the consistency through it.
Right. And that's what your language service provider maintains for you. They maintain that asset for you. Oftentimes people they're like, oh, all I need is the PDF, or I need my website translated. I don't really care about whatever this translation memory is. And it's just a shame that people don't understand the importance of controlling. And you won't be able to open it unless you have some of the software like Trados, or, you won't be able to open it. But if you just have control of it, where you can ask at any time, can I have a copy of my translation memory? And every single target has a different suitcase. So if you pack a suitcase for Canada, it's going to be different than the suitcase that's packed for France. So there's not just one big French suitcase. There are individual suitcases, which is what I like to call the translation memories, that are packed for that specific target. And so your provider should maintain that database for each of those targets for you. And you want to be able, I liken it a lot. And I talk about, I feel like I repeat myself constantly, but the digital copies from a photographer. So let's say you find a photographer who's very professional and they know what they're doing and they're really great. And you get the photos back. You're like, oh, wow. Okay. All I wanted was this 8x10 to put on my wall. But, how can I reuse what you've done for other purposes? Well, you can't unless you have the translation memory. Otherwise, you're just going to have that 8x10 or that PDF of the manual or whatever it is. And just having control of all of your assets, it's really important. And then also too, just the historical information that lives inside of the memory. So you want to make sure that you have all of that in your control.
Well,
That's a big
I
deal.
love that. And man, I couldn't agree more. And that's a big theme of our conversation today. Ingor says exactly, Damon, consistency. Let's pull up. Hey, Timothy's got a great
Timothy.
comment.
Whoops, sorry, I
Go ahead,
dropped
grab
it
that,
off there,
Damon.
but yeah, Timothy, thanks so much. We really appreciate your feedback and like Trish today, sharing so much great information with us about translation and the important. I mean, just so many details that we don't understand. All the way from the fact of you can get ISO certified for translation, different kinds of certification for translation, and then the whole thing about translation memory. It's just so valuable. And like with Timothy, building cloud applications, they go across. It's just like jump across a pond, go wherever in a blink of an eye.
Right.
So
absolutely.
good stuff.
Timothy, thank you, man. Thank you. So, all right, Trish, we've covered a ton. So we're looking at the slide here. We've covered, I believe, are we coming into the home stretch? Are we coming down to the?
I'm here for whatever questions may come up, but I do have some resources. And if you would like a copy of this, I'd be happy to DM it to you if we're connected on LinkedIn. But we have a sample offer where if you'd like to test drive going into another market, we do offer complimentary samples. All language service providers should. And that may be another way that you can help determine who would be the best provider for you, is to ask everyone to complete a sample. And most providers will at no charge. And then you can give that to your salespeople or to your distributors and say, hey, who hit the nail on the head the best? And that's one thing that you can do. I also have an explainer video on what translation memory is, because I know sometimes it still is a little confusing as to how that works. And we have a helpful tips booklet with some questions that you can ask to help you determine if you're finding the right provider for your need.
Okay. So is that on your website, or where is that located?
The tips or the sample or
and the video, and where can they find that stuff? Is it on YouTube?
sure.
Is it on your website, or is it?
Yeah, it's I have it at the bottom of the slide here, but the sample is on our website, but it is a hidden offer. It's not something that's this is something special just for your offers here today. It's not something that because we don't just have it out there.
Awesome.
Hey, yeah. Damon, how about
connect with Trish to get that samples, that stuff that can help you out here. And I got to tell you, this is this probably the comment you're looking at here is Diane Byer. This is an incredible comment, Diane.
Yeah.
It really is about communicating in the words.
Let's share it for anybody catching on our podcast, Damon. In
my opinion, one of the greatest forms of respect we can give one another is to communicate with understanding.
Yeah. Man.
So good. So good. Thank you.
Thank you. As a matter of fact, Trish and Diane, you guys should connect. You guys are fast friends.
We should. Yep. I think we are connected. I think we are, Diane, aren't we? I think we are.
So let's go. I want to be mindful of your time, because you are Wonder Woman out there saving all sorts of folks from dilemmas and communication disasters. Again, guys, take a look at this slide. Boy, grab a screenshot of your computer. Go to terralingua.net. Connect with Trish on LinkedIn. She is just as amazing as she is here today. She's just as amazing in person. Very passionate about helping our manufacturers. Trish, I'm going off script again. Are you ready? I'm going off script again.
I'm ready. Let's
go. What makes you so passionate about helping manufacturers?
Well, I mean, honestly, Kurt, it has to do with because we serve many different industries. But my heart is really with the manufacturers, because one of my clients many years ago said, hey, Trish, you should join the AM. And I was really surprised. And I sit on one of their service member boards, as well as I'm helping to plan the upcoming product safety and stewardship conference coming up in April. But just being involved in that organization and getting to know manufacturers and their needs and what's going on with them. It just, I don't know, it just really lights me up to help manufacturers, because what they're doing is so incredible. And there's so much, liability with many manufacturers with their products that you really have to be careful with who you partner with, because partnering with the wrong person can really, I think manufacturers have so much on the line whenever, and that's probably why a lot of people don't translate their content. First of all, also because maybe they didn't plan very well. That's something else everybody needs to know, is especially with user interfaces, sometimes people don't plan for the expansion or the contraction that happens. And so even if you're not translating now, you think you'll never translate in the future, be ready and make sure that you have plenty of space on that user interface or in your manual or whatever it may be, to allow for your user in another country to have the same experience, and they're not having things abbreviated or maybe not make as much sense with the user interface because you didn't plan. Yeah.
Well, John,
drop the mic, Damon. Drop the mic right there.
And we got a great comment from John Baglino. First of all, Diane said, yes, you are connected to Trish.
Yes.
So Diane, that's awesome. But John has a good question for you. But do you support localization of software?
Yes, we do.
Great question.
We do support localization of software, as well as, there's so many things that we support. The only thing that we don't support is interpretation, because that's a completely different thing. And so many times people will say, hey, I need a translator. And it's for a meeting that's live and in person, and that's an interpreter. So that's something important to know the difference between, because they're two very different services. But we do training videos. We do, and even with the training videos and things, we implement AI voices. We can, or human voices. And that's the thing, is that we've been using technology for a long time. So your language service provider is probably a really good person to ask for advice if you're thinking about different things or you have questions about it. And I have to say, one of the greatest honors that we recently had, we had a client who is thinking about using some different technology. And I was really surprised that they reached out to us to say, hey, how do we use this? And, I liken it to, I know a guy who rebuilds car engines, and I'm sure he could show me how he uses it, but he's at least going to tell me enough to stay safe. And so your language service provider is always a great resource for any questions that you might have. If they're truly a partner, they're going to try to help guide you as much as they can to the best resources and to where you can find answers to your questions, even if they can't give you the step-by-step as to how they do it, because there is a lot involved usually with training and, the tools that we use.
Yeah. But John here talks about his language service providers. Yeah, currently are the people that speak multiple languages in their company. So
let's chat.
Yeah, let's chat.
Well, that's and that's how many people start off, because who's a better subject matter expert than the people who are in your company and know your brand? But unfortunately, they have other jobs too, and they don't have these tools to be able to do things. And so at some point, John, you will need to have a language service, a partner or provider. And so you want to make sure that you choose somebody that welcomes those people, because those people have been very invested in the translated content. And to completely cut them out of the whole process, they're not going to be happy with that. And so you want to make sure that you have a language service provider that says, we welcome review comments. Here's the style guide. Here's the terminology base. We want their feedback. We want their input. So you want to make sure that they're still involved in the process, because no matter how wonderful the translation service provider may be, they don't live and breathe things like the people in your company do who speak that language.
Excellent. Great question, John Baglino from Tesla. Thank you.
Yeah.
So cheers. Great.
All right. So Trish, we're going to start winding.
Awesome
down. Man,
stuff.
what What a masterclass. Trish, how was
Yes.
that? That went by pretty quick, didn't it?
It did. And like I said, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. I love chatting with people and helping to solve their problems. So if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out. I'd be really honored.
I will say, Trish and I became fast friends, one of the most amazing individuals you'll ever meet, very passionate about helping her clients, her manufacturers, and just a woman of high integrity. And just Trish, how about, boy, you guys been hanging out? Have you been sitting down?
The same way about you too, Kurt. My gosh, my head is going to explode here.
You're great. Hey, Trish,
I love you and Damon so much. Thank you.
Everybody that's been sitting down for the past however long it's been, it's a great opportunity if you want to stand up and stretch and give Trish a big standing ovation for just absolutely hitting the ball out of the park today. Damon, she crushed it, did she not?
No doubt.
Okay, tons. Boy, I know, Damon, I know we say that
like center field deep.
It was center field deep. It wasn't like a short porch, man. She went center field
deep. It wasn't
deep.
hooking it.
It wasn't hooking. So this was just, Trish, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And Damon, we always say this, go back and hit the rewind button and, capture anything.
Though, thank you and Damon for what you do. I mean, seriously, look at all the wonderful content that you all put out there for people. Thank you for what you do. You guys, everybody needs to stand up and applaud you both because we are all very lucky. We should all raise a glass to you this St. Patrick's Day to thank you all for all that you do to help the industry and to help manufacturers be educated and know what's going on. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Trish. I mean, did our moms call you, Trish? We'll talk about it.
We'll
talk about it after. Damon, I think
they bribed her.
My mom might have called her. But anyway, all right, so let's wind down. So Trish, you were here last week, right? You caught some of the interview last week. So you know what? I am going there.
No, oh no.
I am going there. So I won't go into the whole thing.
Okay.
You heard a question last week, and the question was, what's your walk-up song?
Yeah.
What is Trish's walk-up song?
Boy, I don't know. I was thinking about that, and probably I don't know if you've ever heard the Republica song "Ready to Go."
Oh yeah, that's a '90s song.
Yeah, I like that one. That's a good one. That's
Republica "Ready to Go." Damon, are you on it?
Can you find it, Damon? It takes a little while because I'm older. It takes a little while to get going, but once I get going, we're going.
Then you're ready to go. So I love it. Awesome. Well, hey, great answer. Thank you for playing along.
There we go.
So, all right, let's wind down. Trish, thank you for just delivering. You always just crush it for us. We appreciate it. Appreciate your friendship. We appreciate everybody in the audience. Man, Damon, you want to take it away, dude?
Yeah, just thanks so much for being here, Trish. Thanks to everyone making the comments. We love that you're stopping by. We love that you're asking questions and just making this show fuller for us and everything. And Timothy, John, Whitney, Diane, Dan, we have to do a little bit more about that before we jump up. But thanks so much for being here, everyone. And just have a great time. We will be back again next week, but I cannot leave without saying this. Monday the 18th, Kurt Anderson Day. We got to get ready for Kurt Anderson Day, National Kurt Anderson Day, Monday, March 18th.
So I don't know if everybody knows
Kurt.
Damon, I don't know if everybody knows this, but so we've got Karen. We're talking women in manufacturing out of Texas. So we've got Karen Rivera. We've got a great topic on Monday. But if anybody's going to be celebrating this whole little, I'm not sure about. I think my mom did call Dan Bigger, but you've got to shave your head. You've got to go totally bald. So if you want to go in there, you got to do this. So nobody's going to show up, Damon. There's going to be nobody there. So anyway, let's wind down. Everyone. And what I love how we love to wind down, boy, just go out and be someone's inspiration this week, just like Trish was for us. Trish, what a blessing. Thank you. We appreciate you. Hang out with us for 1 second. God bless everybody. Have a wonderful, amazing, safe weekend. Happy St. Patrick's Day for anybody out there. Everybody's Irish this weekend. So Damon, let's close it out.
Well, everyone, have a great weekend. We'll be back again next week with manufacturing e-commerce success. Like we said, go back and listen to this from the beginning if you got in here late. But we will be back again on Monday. We'll be back in next Friday. But thanks for being here today. We'll be back. Have a great weekend, everyone.